I've used pretty much every generation of M series MacBook Pro, and trust me, if you own any of them, you might find that the M4 versions are not different enough. But let's talk about it and you can decide for yourself. The M4 Pro MacBook Pro has a few new changes. Obviously, the M4 series of chips, more RAM, an even brighter display when outdoors, a 12 megapixel center stage webcam, and now in the box, you get the 97 watt fast charging brick instead of the 70 watt that they used to provide for these machines. At first glance, you won't notice any physical differences between this here and the last 3 generations of the machine. The speakers still sound great. The mini LED display still looks fantastic. The webcam does look better, and the laptop itself is still a solid feeling slab and is offered in the same 2 colors, space black and silver. Here's my M3 Max MacBook Pro 14-inch in space black in case you want to see how the finish has held up after a year, fingerprints and all. Additionally, the new MacBook Pros does get brighter, but only in bright light. In everyday use in your home or in an office setting, you won't see much benefit. There's now a nano texture option which provides a matte screen option to cut down on glare, but that is a new $150 upcharge. And honestly, glossy versus matte displays are all personal preference. All right, let's talk about performance for a second. My benchmarks are a little limited since I only have a few different computers on me at once. And if you're into that type of thing, there are better channels with way more in-depth information on this type of thing. But at a high level, looking at these, overall, the M4 Pro is faster than last year's M3 Max MacBook Pro in the CPU department. When it comes to GPU, it is sadly still behind and by a significant margin. So that's your priority. A previous generation M3 Max MacBook Pro might be the better pick, especially with all the Apple refurb options out there. Running games, it does fine, better than last year's, but really, gaming on Macs still doesn't make much sense. For my own usage, productivity, and YouTube work, it's an absolute monster. It feels flawless working off 2 external monitors with lots of open windows and while editing YouTube videos in Final Cut Pro and editing photos in Affinity Photo. I had no trouble replacing my M3 Max MacBook Pro's tasks with the M4 Pro MacBook Pro. Maybe because I don't think I fully made use of all the performance that the M3 Max offered in the first place. For the record, I edit 4K videos with some light color correction directly in Final Cut Pro, and there's been no issues there. I would not say I'm the biggest power user of the Mac, but at the same time, I am doing some pretty intense stuff. But to be fair, I can only speak to my own personal workloads and how it satisfies that. And it does that perfectly. The M4 Pro MacBook Pro does get warm, especially while in Final Cut Pro editing and charging it at the same time. I find it decently comfortable to use the M4 Pro MacBook Pro in my lap, but it does get warm while it's in Final Cut Pro editing and charging at the same time. That's when I would start to consider taking it off my lap. Battery life on this thing is fantastic. I can get through 2 full days with general web browsing. And when I am pushing heavier workloads, like days where I'm editing, I can still get through an entire day. Overall, this is a pretty compelling performance bump for an otherwise similar looking laptop. Does it move the needle for anyone that's already on an M series MacBook? Probably not, unless you're on the base model M1s. Then maybe. Yeah, these things are better and by a decent margin too. So for my own experiences, I have absolutely no complaints about it. I genuinely wish I had more to say about it, negative or positive, but I really don't. So I think we really have to look at this from the perspective of someone who hasn't bought a Mac in 5 years or more. So let's think about that for a second. So if you're buying a MacBook Pro in November 2024, it's pretty difficult to decide what the right choice is. The M4 MacBook Pro has 3 different chip options and can range anywhere from $1,600 USD to over $7,000. So let's break down these M4 options. Screen size is all personal preference based on what you do, so I won't talk about that. Besides the screen size difference, their minor spec differences aren't all too significant. So these are overall very similar machines. So let's talk about the chips starting from the top. If you need the M4 Max, you know who you are already. That thing is stupid fast. And for 99% of people, you don't need that kind of performance. I bought an M3 Max last year and not even the fastest version of it. And I can't even get close to maximizing its performance. I mean it, save your money. I feel weird telling people to not buy more performance, but if the current trend continues, the Pro Series chips catch up about a year or 2 later on CPU performance and at better power efficiency anyway. So the Max is really for those who need the absolute fastest chip on a Mac right now and are willing to pay for it. Now the M4 Pro chip is a nice sweet spot. You get a whiff of that addicting Max performance without the shorter battery life. And that's typically what I would recommend for most people looking at the MacBook Pro and want something that will last them a long time. But recently, that kind of thought process has changed a bit for me because Apple fixed many of the issues people had with the previous base model M series chips with the regular M4. Now, the M4 is super competitive even against the M4 Pro and M4 Max, considering their prices. So this might be a hot take here, but it's a little difficult to decide between the M4 and M4 Pro because I've been using an M4 machine too, the M4 Mac Mini, to do all the tasks that I've been handling on my M4 Pro MacBook Pro. And it's already really good and still handles all those tasks really well. So what I'm saying is, do not sleep on the base model M4. It will exceed your expectations. But I also think that my messaging that I want to articulate this year is exactly or very similar to what I said last year. Buy something that suits your needs today, plus a little extra to account for software updates that might bog down your machine more, and because the way you use your laptop can and will change. And that might mean that you're doing more intense stuff. So if you want something that will last you a very long time, it will still be the $2,000 M4 Pro MacBook Pro. That's a fantastic machine that won't disappoint you. If I wasn't a tech-focused channel that talks about these things constantly, I'd probably still be on the M1 Pro and would probably be on that machine for more years to come. They're that good. And if you're looking at the base M4 MacBook Pro, it's not a bad choice either, but that's when you have to think about better value picks like the MacBook Airs and the rumored M4 MacBook Airs breathing down your neck as better value decisions. So if you're looking at sheer value, I think the base model is a great machine, but is slightly behind the rest from a value perspective. Okay, so that's a huge problem, right? Or should I say, it's a good problem to have. Since all recent year M series MacBook Pros have been excellent, I usually recommend looking at refurb models too, since it can sometimes be a cheaper way to get a similar MacBook, but for way less. But this year is a little different because 16 gigabytes of RAM is standard now. It really puts refurb model pricing close to just buying the latest M4 laptops. Like, look at the M3 Pro versus standard M4 MacBook Pro that you can get for $1,600 straight from Apple. The M4 is newer with longer software support, has better battery life, has a slightly better webcam and similar CPU performance, but it has 2 gigabytes of RAM less and a little worse GPU performance. So while these are similar, I'd personally lean towards the newer M4 just for that longevity. Let me pause the video right here. These M4 MacBook Pros have actually gone on sale the last couple of days. You can actually get pretty good deals on the M4 MacBook Pros to the point where it makes the refurb models not appealing. So I would highly suggest you look through these sales as well as the refurb models to make the best decision for yourself. Back to the video. So yeah, those are kind of all of my thoughts on these new M4 machines, kind of just blasted in a video. But what do you think? Is it time to upgrade for yourself? Which ones are you upgrading to? Are you still on the M1 machines? Those were just made too good. I'm wondering how everyone on a base model M1 Air is holding up at this point. And if you're still on an Intel-based Mac, do you think it's time, or can you hold out even longer? I'm curious, since everyone probably has different use cases and have owned different machines in the past. So let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.